Part 1. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land. Christina Rossetti. Chapter 1. Simba. It was his birthday, 11 August 1940. He was 25 years old and wondering if he would die on his birthday. Richard Norwood stood looking out at the 6 Gloucester gladiators that were being prepared for the mission. The heat waves shimmered across the dirt runways. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His shirt was clinging to his back. Africa. Continent of his birth. The land that he longed for so many years to get back to. And now he was here, and he'd forgotten how mercilessly the sun looked down on it. To be fair, it wasn't exactly this piece of Africa that his heart had longed for those lonely years in an English boarding school. It had been Kenya that had pulled him back. The grasslands, the smell of rain in the blue storm clouds that would build up on the horizon on a December afternoon, the smell of dung fires on the freezing winter mornings, the sound of the cattle. He lit a cigarette, the comforting feeling of the nicotine settling the unease in his stomach. There was a big flap coming up, and he had nerves every time before takeoff. The moment the prop swung into life, it settled. Then there was no time for standing around, for indecisiveness. He hated being indecisive, and he couldn't stand waiting. He coughed at the first smoke, watched the ground crew go about their business. One of the small mercies was that out-year uniforms included shorts. The ground crew were all very tanned. All of them were very tanned and pretty listless in the heat. Had it been as hot in Kenya when he was a boy? Do children just not feel the heat as much? He couldn't remember. The memories were clouded in the golden haze of a child's dreams. "Hey, Simba, got a fag for me?" He was startled as Nick spoke up behind him. The South African could move noiselessly. He pulled out another cigarette, handed it to him. "Are you worried?" "Just the normal nerves." They'd flown together since the start of the war against the Italians in June 1940. Living like that, men got to know each other's quirks, habits, and mannerisms like married people did. Nick stood quietly smoking next to him. He was very lean, had a humorous mouth and a long, lean face, black hair, brown eyes, and a continuous stubble no matter how frequently he shaved. "Something's bugging you." Richard shook his head. "I don't know what. I think I'm just chomping at the bit, and this waiting around for the reports to come is frustrating." Simba's ready for the hunt." He had that little mocking edge to his voice, grinned at Richard. He knew how much the nickname bugged him. It was ironic. He'd willed the nickname into life when he was a small boy fresh in England. He was the little wild boy from Africa, brown and strange, and he'd felt it intensely. All his previous playmates had been the black children he'd grown up with, played barefoot with, wild children of the grasslands and their lean dogs. It had been they who had first called him Simba. It had been the color of his hair and eyes that had done it. His hair had been very blonde as a small boy, and his eyes were unusual, a hazel so light that they truly did have the color of a large cat's eyes. His mother had been scatterbrained, deeply involved in her writing and painting, had let his hair grow longer than it should have, and he must indeed have reminded the dark African children of a lion. So he was casually nicknamed Simba by them. When the family had packed up and moved back to England, he had clung to what he had known. Africa had been his identity. He missed it sorely. The scrawny 10-year-old had been sent to boarding school. His mother had cried. His father had patted his shoulder. "You'll learn to like it, Rich. It's a very prestigious school. It was where I'd gone when I was your age. It'll give you opportunities, son." He had looked up at his father and not cried, bravely tried to emulate the stiff upper lip of a strong and cultured man. He had hoped it would turn him into someone as brave and strong as his father. But those first few weeks it cried many tears in his pillow in the dark, cried for the sunlit country and the tall grass and his friends. It cried because he had to wear shoes and he couldn't see the sunset for all the stern grey stone buildings. The sky was very narrow in England. It made friends easily, at least. He was the interesting new boy. He had stories and a bit of a funny accent, and he could make animal noises. He could emulate the call of a jackal, the booming roar of a male ostrich, and he could almost perfectly imitate the lion's grunts and roars behind a cupped hand. "My name is really Simba. It means lion, because I have lion eyes." It refused to respond if the other boys didn't call him Simba. It was the one thing he had to hold on to behind the new blazer and tie, crisp trousers, and the restraint of shoes. He was Simba from Africa. It had stuck, outlived his tan, his hardened foot soles. It had stuck on the polo field along with a reputation for fast and deadly riding. Then, simply because he ended up in the same squadron as one of his old classmates, the name had followed him into the RAF and into war in September 1939. He was call sign Simba, even in the air. It seemed foolish, pretentious, that a man who had spent the last few years before the war studying literature should be called after a lion. But the name had stuck, right back into Africa. "Stop brooding, Rich. It's not going to hurry anything up." Nicholas didn't seem to have nerves. The smile was always lurking just below the surface. "Why are you always so damn calm?" "Easy. If I live, I have nothing to worry about. If I die, well, nothing to worry about either." "What about Mariki?" "She'll be sad for a while and then find someone else. She's 17. "What about your mother?" A bright grin flashed. "I'm the middle child of 5. She's already forgotten me." Richard scoffed, shook his head. He worried about his own mother. She was alone in England and wrote to him diligently. He knew missing his father ate away at her. She, like him, had never forgotten the open grasslands of Africa. England stifled her, especially now that she was widowed and alone and confined by war and shortages. He didn't know what would happen to her if he died. But Nick was right. There was no point in worrying about it. Nothing that he could do about it if he died. Nothing to worry about if he lived. But unlike Nick, he didn't have the ability to shrug it off fatalistically. At least, not until he strapped himself in the cockpit. There was movement from the operations tent. "Let's go. Looks like they're about to fill us in on today." 20 minutes later, they were going through pre-flight checks. It was a simple escort mission for 2 Bombays flying in supplies and carrying out wounded. They were simply to be security and stave off possible attack from Italian fighters. But the mission was afoot, and all anxiety left him as he taxied the biplane out on the runway and lifted to meet the dusty, hot sky.